Actually, over the last 10 years, maybe 20, the species disappearing, the climate heating up, the frequency of hurricanes and storms and floods and droughts, the conflict around the world, the civil unrest, I mean, all of it is, and people losing hope.
When did you first realize that hope is so important?
Way back in late 1980s, when I was meeting young people who said they were depressed or they were angry, and that's because they said we compromised their future and there was nothing they could do about it. So yes, we've compromised their future, but I reckon there was something they could do. And then it all became very clear that if you lose hope, you become apathetic, you give up, you do nothing, and then we're doomed.
So for you, for the past 5 decades, the world become better or worse?
Worse. On the other hand, awareness has grown up, particularly among young people. They're much more aware of the need to. But unfortunately, in some of the very elite communities, like I won't mention places, but children growing up with very rich parents who just swan around private jets and everything. Those children, they don't know. They don't realize the harm that lifestyle is doing to the planet. So getting to them is important. Equally, it's important to get to the very poor, to, somehow give them some hope.
So when deal with the politician or business leader, what do you get from them? How do they think about the world?
Well, the business leaders, I talk to them quite often. And some of them, without question, are really, really trying to become more sustainable. And my favorite story is a CEO of a big international company. And he said, Jane, I really have been trying for the last 8 years to get my company sustainable in the countries where we get our products, in the supply chain as much as possible. That's difficult. In our offices around the world, and in the way we treat our customers. And he said there were 3 reasons. 1, seeing the writing on the wall. We're using up natural resources in some places faster than nature can replenish them. 2, consumer pressure. People are beginning to ask questions. How was this made? Did it harm the environment? Was it cruel to animals, like factory farming? Is it cheap because of unfair wages? But he said, what tipped the balance for me was my little girl, 10 years old, and she got back from school. She said, Daddy, they're telling me what you're doing is hurting the planet. That's not true, is it, Daddy? Because it's my planet. That
wow,
did it.
Very touching.
You see, that's how you have to go. You have to reach the heart. It's no good trying to argue and fight because they're not going to listen, these people. But if you can sneak into the heart. But how do we persuade governments? How do we persuade business? They don't seem to care. Oh, I'll be all right. I'll be dead before it gets too bad. But don't you care about your children? I hadn't thought about that. Well, it may never happen. I heard with my own ears, President-elect Donald Trump said, climate change is the biggest hoax in human history. He said that.
Yeah.
And he's going to be president. And his chief advisor will be Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the only person who's attacked me on social media because when I'm talking about the problems we face, I always say to have unlimited economic development on a planet with finite natural resources and a growing human population doesn't make sense. We've got 8 billion of us roughly on the world today. By 2050 it'll be about 10 billion. what's going to happen. I've never said more than that. And Elon Musk accused me of wishing for human genocide on social media. He's going to be the main advisor to Donald Trump. I mean, what do you do? And then all these political leaders, they all get together and they make their little plans, and it's like I'm reminded in Shakespeare's, we petty men creep under their huge legs and peep about to find ourselves dishonorable graves. And so I just thought, that's exactly what it's like.
So many people feel so powerless.
Yes. Makes the job of somebody like me very difficult. And still, I must give hope, because if people lose hope now, then of course we can't do anything about it.
But in 1930s, 40s, it's more harsher than now, I guess. The World War II.
What was I, 10, 11, 12, the end of the war. And the images of the Holocaust came out, the torture. And that made a deep, deep impression. I learned about human evil for the first time. And I began writing poems about it. And I began lying, thinking, how would I withstand torture? If I was being tortured to tell about something, would I be able to withstand it or not? So it was a grim time.
So for today's world, what's the biggest threat of evil in today's world?
Well, probably what really upsets me in Palestine, in Gaza. I think that's just, I mean, so many children killed, thousands of them, bombed, destroyed. That has to be evil, doesn't it?
So what's the best solution or attitude towards evil?
Conquering it somehow. Go back to the Lord of the Rings. Sauron, the Dark Lord,
Yeah.
and the orcs. It is really, it's almost like a whole scene of today. So we need, so we actually talk about this, you know, when I'm talking about particularly the environmental problems of the world. And, you know, there are people with the Jane Goodall Institute, with Roots and Shoots. And so I say, you know, we've got to grow the fellowship. You know, Lord of the Rings is Fellowship of the Ring. Well, we haven't got a ring, but we need to grow the fellowship to fight the Dark Lords. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I say to people sometimes when they say, well, I don't have hope, but I'll go on fighting anyway, because, as I've always said, supposing there isn't any hope, which I really don't believe. I believe there is hope, because I think we're beginning to wake up. But suppose there wasn't. Isn't it better to die fighting for what you believe in than just to give up and let your last days fade away and eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die?
Because you said you like the Lord of the Rings very much. So if you were in book, what kind of role you would play? Frodo or Sam or Gandalf? Which one you want to play?
I didn't ever want to play any here. I just admired them or hated them, depending.
It's also about how people live in the dark times. So what do you get from the book? I mean, about courage, about maybe dilemma,
Persistence.
persistence.
Hope. I mean, Frodo and Sam attempted the impossible. And that's one of my reasons for hope, the people who attempt the impossible and are told that they're stupid, but they succeed.
How literature experience shape your scientific discovery?
I don't know that it did. I mean, even as a little girl, I was out in nature watching birds and insects and squirrels and, you know, loving to be out looking at the colors of the autumn tree and the little buds coming out in spring. And that tied in with poetry very much.
Who is your favorite poet?
Probably Keats.
Keats.
Yeah.
Lots about nature, about the birds. Yeah.
I used to read Shakespeare all the time, and then poetry. I read a lot of poetry, and I loved it.
How does this kind of experience change your maybe scientific training?
Because I haven't had scientific training. I'm much more romantic than a scientist.
Yeah, actually, you're a romance-driven person, actually.
You know, scientific method, the way I use it's fine, but scientific method, being objective and cold, that's led to a lot of cruelty. You know, your animals are just subjects. I was told we were not part of the animal kingdom, we're separate. That's rubbish. When I was 10 years old, I'd loved animals all my life. And I read a book that made me dream of going to Africa, living with wild animals and writing books about them. And as I say, everybody laughed at me because I was just a girl. But here was the importance of my mother. She said to me, if you really want to do something like this, you're going to have to work really, really hard, take advantage of every opportunity. It wasn't easy. As I say, we didn't have much money. I was very good at school, but we didn't have money for university. I got a boring secretarial job in London, but I couldn't save money up in London. And so I went home. We lived on the south coast. And I got a job as a waitress, jolly hard work. But it took 5 or 6 months until I'd saved up enough money for a fare to Africa. Anyway, to cut the long story short, I got to Africa. I met the famous paleontologist, Dr. Louis Leakey, and he offered me the opportunity to go and live with and learn from chimpanzees. Well, for the first 4 months, the chimpanzees ran away from me. So I think this is maybe one of the earliest times when hope was so important. And hope was realized by working very hard, getting up every day at 6 a.m., staying out in the fields, out in the forest, every day until darkness fell. And it was in this way that I gained the trust of the chimpanzees. And the most exciting thing that I then found out, how like us they are. They kiss, they embrace, they hold hands, they pat one another in reassurance. Males competing for dominance stand upright and swagger with furious scowls, shake their fist. Does that remind you of some human male politicians? I was nervous. I mean, I'd never been to college. And I was told I'd done everything wrong. Jane, you shouldn't have given the chimps names. They should have had numbers. You cannot talk about them having personality, mind, emotion. Those are unique to us. I'd had a wonderful teacher as a child who had taught me that these wise professors were talking rubbish. That wise teacher was my dog, Rusty. You can't share your life with any kind of animal and not know we are not the only beings on the planet with personalities, minds, and emotions.
珍古道尔他关注的已经不是简单的科学、人类学，或者是心理学，或者是动物学了。他关心的是真正的人学，是考虑人、地球、生命到底是怎么回事。所以他一开始，你看他的这些研究方法，他的一些方式呢，很多是这种描述性的。他甚至给那个动物要起名字，所以那个当时就很多教授就提出的最大质疑是：你不能富有你自己的感情，你去给动物起名字，你去说他们有感情。在他们很多当时的这些科学家来讲，实际上是认为动物就是一个。就是低人一等的东西嘛，是吧？这种描述性的东西的话呢，往往就不容易被科学界所接受。他认为你没法去论证它，你只是说你感觉他有感情，你何以证明他有感情？所以真的反驳是你何以证明他没感情，对吧？因为我们人是有感情的，你为什么说他们就没有感情？我们也是生命，他们也是生命，所以这就是我们去理解的Jane所做的这些工作啊，学术的研究啊等等，他的方法是另一个世界的方法，他是特别的那种非暴力的，不抵抗的。但是我永远是一个观察者，我永远是想去作为我的一些行动去试图去改变。他不断的强调我们应该去改变。
其实他身上的文学性挺强的。
对，在我看来，科学发展到一定阶段，它也像中世纪那个黑暗的那个宗教时期，在我看来也是这样的。好像科学就是真理。然后呢，珍古道尔的话呢，他实际上是在努力改变一些科学禁锢你的东西，因为真正认定动物是有思想、有意识、有复杂行为的。Jane 的年代其实是已经极其先锋的，甚至可以说在那时候大部分是反对的。他就像当年达尔文拿着他的论文去在皇家学会去宣读的时候，也是被人唾骂的。那个状态你可以想象，你像那个 Richard Carson 写那个《寂静的春天》的都多晚了，那时候
72年嘛，
西方才开始有环保的意识。那过去的话呢 ，DDT 666那些还专门拿诺贝尔奖呢。人们觉得这发明一种那个农药杀虫剂，杀死那么多所谓的害虫，这是一个多好的事情。所以这个观念转变也就是这几十年。所以Jane在他的那个年代，他大胆地提出动物是有共情的，是有感情的，是有交流的，甚至有思想的，那个是很前卫、很超前的。所以在他那个年代一直是被反对的，到今天，甚至科学的主流都不会接纳他。
所以某种上Jane还是就他们的就是异端，
我觉得是这样。
In 1970s, you try to give the human side of chimpanzee, and it's still kind of controversial feedback from the academic.
Well, same as people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I wasn't surprised, but I knew that it was going to cause a great, surprise to the scientific community. Because we were defined as man, the tool maker. Only humans could use and make tools. That was the big dividing. One scientist even said I must have taught them, which would have been brilliant since they were still running away from me. How I was supposed to teach them, I don't know.
So David changed everything. David Graybeard.
He changed everything. David Graybeard using tools, which brought in the National Geographic, and money came in.
In 60s, 70s, because maybe academics say something, you are cover girl of National Geographic.
Yes.
You are so angry at time. No.
Today you'd sue them, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But back then it was different. And, the whole feminist movement hadn't started. And all I wanted to do was be out there with the chimps. So I said, well, if I'm getting money from the Geographic to go on the cover because of my legs, thank you, legs. And they were good legs. I mean, let's face it.
So in the 1970s, to be a female scientist, what's the feeling?
Well, you see, I was unlike most females trying to be scientists. One, I didn't want to be a scientist. I just wanted to learn about chimps, and Leakey made me get my degree because he wanted me to be taken seriously. So, and then, unlike other scientists, most of the time I was just away out in the bush doing my thing. I wasn't wanting a job in a university, so it was different.
You have come strategy to do something non-confrontational.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this strategy, when does it come from?
Where does it come from?
Yeah.
Probably experience. Probably because my mother was like that, non-confrontational. She was very wise, because it was pretty obvious when, me, a young girl, in a male-dominated world, it was pointless arguing with a big, powerful male. And I probably discovered that early. So you have to use other things. Yes, you can use some female qualities, a little bit flirtatious, perhaps. something to get their attention. And then a story. You know how wise my mother was? You can imagine, during the war, we got to hate Germans. The sound of a German voice, it made you scared. Because, they were on our doorstep. So after the war, I was left school, and my uncle had a job in Germany. And he found a family that wanted somebody to come and teach the children English. Would I go? Mum said yes. Her friends were horrified. You're letting your daughter go off to that evil country? How can you let her go into a German family? You know her answer? I want Jane to understand that Hitler and the Nazis are not representative of the German people. And that's true all around the world today. People are hating the Israelis. There's all sorts of, anti-Semitic hatred going on. But the average Israeli, I know them, they are just as mad at Netanyahu as I am. So the average Israeli is not the same as Netanyahu. And it's the same in other places too.
Yeah, maybe it's one of the major motivation to to fight with kind of self-superiority.
Yeah. Monster race. Blue eyes. We all must have blue eyes.
So when most people, when we are facing the animal world, we are kind of similar figure.
Yeah.
Similar mentality.
Yeah. I'm very happy to be here with you and to say a few words. So let me start off by saying my love of animals and nature.
Thank you. Have a great trip in China. We love you. We love you, Jane. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. My question is, I want to know your understanding of the ancient Greece. Protagoras' statement, man is the measures of all things.
I don't think we like to think we're the measure of everything. We like to think we're the pinnacle of evolution because we're part of the natural world. So we've got to have a new mindset, a new way of moving forward with thinking about how we are impacting the natural world. Then sometimes I'm really, really, really tired. And so I can't give this speech. How can I give a speech? I'm much too tired. So I kind of say, you put me here, you made me do this, help. And then I make a really good speech. We all have a mission. We don't all discover it. And I discovered my mission was to raise awareness about the planet, and then after that to give people hope. So, okay, so if I'm put here with this mission by some spiritual power, oh. Well, I don't know, there's a strange connection very often. I don't know, you've seen a bit of video of the chimp wounder? When she embraces me. Yeah. I'd never met her till that day. She should have been embracing one of her caregivers. But no, it was me. It was very strange. Very strange. We think about all those young people who've now been.
好吧，哇，还是每次看完还是感触。
有请这个办公室来。
嗨，
先上台问的好吗？
欢迎。
Stand on a chair.
Oh, it's too dangerous.
No, it's not. I've done it often. This one.
你们知道他说啥吗？他想站在椅子上，让你们后边的人都能看到。这么一个90岁的老人，
这个当然是不可能的，不要互相起火。我们建议我们的摄影老师集合，能稍微
对你们人声降下去一点好不好？
特别是我们第一桌主桌座位的几位，大家也要。
有东西他。
I will hold Toby's hand.
哦 ，OK。
他非要试他站在椅子上。
来一把椅子来。
天哪，可以吗，徐老师
Yes, you can.
徐老师
You can.
Yeah, it's good. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, sure.
Oh,
Please.
哇哦，比你高的教室。天哪！
You want mic?
我
给他一个麦克。
来
You want mic?
OK。
Yes.
Need a mic. So where's Lucky?
Lucky is here.
Oh, there you are. You need a mic too. You need a mic too.
It's okay. 很拿手。
The